We are live.
Well, we are. I love that every week we go, we are live. And
We are live.
welcome to the NFL Corner, episode 13. And I'm glad that's written at the top there because I may have forgot what episode we were on. But welcome to episode 13. The schedule for the NFL season was released late last night, English time, so we delayed it by a day so we can give not a live reaction, but it's not been a long time since it's come out and the news isn't a week late that the NFL schedule has come out. Also, we will continue our divisional previews with the NFC East, which contains the Dallas Cowboys, which Will obviously supports. But is there any news you can think about before we get going, before we get into the schedule, apart from the schedule?
There's been a couple of signings here and there, aren't there? But nothing to change the landscape of the NFL. There's been like an Andy Dalton signed with a new team. Obviously, we mentioned Jamie's got his new contract with the Saints, but apart from that, it's not been a right lot really.
I think
Cam Newton's still on the street as well.
He is, and so is Jadeveon Clowney. But one thing I do want to mention is we've got to talk about it. The schedule came out. What do you think this season holds in terms of, are we going to be playing games? Are we not going to be playing games? What do you think is going to happen in terms of?
It's just so hard to predict at the moment because of what's going on. But I feel like, September's still a while away. Like it's still 4 months away. So hopefully by this, I mean, many people were predicting this might be gone by July time, which if it is, awesome. But what I like the NFL, what I like the NFL have done is they've created a bit of a backup plan. So if it does still linger into September, they're going to start around like the same time the NBA season starts, which is like mid-October, and then they'll cancel bye weeks. They'll cancel the Pro Bowl, and then they'll just have a later Super Bowl. So they'll still have a season. I think the NFL will find a way to have a season because it just, they don't want to miss out on all the opportunity, to get the money and everything like that. And it can be such a, like you say, it's just such a hard thing to predict at the moment. But I'm hoping there's a season. The release of the schedule is promising. It shows that the NFL are optimistic because they won't just create a schedule if they thought it wasn't going to happen, So the schedule's been made. Hopefully everything goes to plan, and hopefully we have a season.
The contingency plans appear to be in place. Let's be honest, in terms of what we've seen, actually one piece of news is I'm pretty sure by either a week or in 2 weeks' time, facilities can start to reopen. But the rules surrounding that are they have to obviously ask the governor of the state where the team is held. If one state governor says no, no one can reopen their facilities, no matter if, all the other teams in the NFL say yes. If one team, we'll just say in the state of California, I'm just going to make it up, but in the state of California says no, no one can open. That's it. The facilities can't open until they accept.
And you think about how big California is as well. Oof.
Yeah, but what they have done is they've set out, I think they gave out a memo about what teams' facilities will do when reopening. I think it's like you've got to have 75% of your staff. There'll be testing, and if someone's had it, they go and disinfect every area that person's been in. Mm-hmm. And they were saying this could be a good starting point for small businesses, but also it could work as small businesses will get annoyed because if the NFL can continue and get back to normal, why can't everyone else?
That's what it is. I mean, you look at the XFL. Apparently, the only reason it folded is because one of the staff for the Seattle Dragons got coronavirus, and apparently, if that hadn't have happened, Vince McMahon would have carried on with the season because he's seen that as an opportunity. The NFL's down, the NBA's down, the MLB's down, all the major American sports leagues are down. If we can continue going and we can get those views, if we're the only thing showing, even if people don't like the XFL, if that's the only thing on TV, I can guarantee people will be watching it, whether they like it or not, because it's sport at the end of the day. It's the only other alternative. And Vince McMahon saw it as an opportunity, but as soon as that person got coronavirus for the Seattle Dragons, there's no option. You can't, you have to stop the plans. And I think with the NFL, if someone did get coronavirus, I think that'd be what would happen. I think it's too big of a corporation to take a risk like that. But we'll have to see. I mean, it doesn't seem like obviously when the coronavirus stuff, when it first came around. Anyway, when the obviously I know when the NBA season got cancelled, a lot of NBA players were contracting it, whereas NFL, I think only a few people have contracted it so far. But hopefully it all just slows down. And hopefully we have a season.
I'll take them out.
I hope that we do have a season because it's obviously going to provide a nice escape for a lot of people. But I want it to be safe. That's the main be all about it. But as you say, to be fair, with an NFL which has got so many staff members, so many players, so many teams, I think I can name 2 people, 3: Sean Payton, Von Miller, and Brian Allen.
Yeah,
they're the 3.
Brian Allen was the first to get it, I think.
Yeah, and such a large corporation, for that little people to have it, that's obviously a positive sign, because it wasn't like spreading like wildfire throughout the NFL. But also, I think the idea of having fans in the stadium, I don't think that's happening. Not straight away, anyway.
No, not straight away. And I think as the closer we get to the season as well, people are gonna, you can start to make better assumptions, because at this point, 4 months away, you don't know what's down the line. But maybe when it gets to August time, then we'll have a better understanding of where this virus is at, and if people can start having fans in the stadium. I think right now it's just a guessing game for people, really, what it's going to be like. I think when it gets close to the season, then we'll be able to make a full decision, and hopefully it swings the NFL's way.
I think the belief of the NFL is. Go on.
No, it's fine. Go on.
I think the belief of the NFL is, by the time the season rolls around and the off season, obviously it's a weird off season. People aren't going to be able to practice as much as they want, and some players are half across the country. I think Sam Darnold is in California, and he's not even with the Jets, in New York. But also, I think the idea and belief of the NFL is that basically testing will have come a long way. We may not have a vaccine by September, but testing, you'll be able to have results back quicker. So maybe everyone's tested up on arrival. Within an hour, you can say you've got it, you've not, you've got the antibodies, etc., etc. I don't know if that'll work, how that'll work for fans, because think about how many people are in the stadium and how many people you're going to have to test. You have to open the gates 5 hours before. That's one of them. But I think we've got to remember, to safeguard everyone, testing may be really good, but it might be safer just to have no fans for the beginning or the foreseeable anyway.
Just don't take the risk if it's not needed.
Well, you don't want to be the team that takes a risk and it goes belly up, do you? Let's be honest. No, that's the big problem. But as we said, positively, the schedule got released. So the season, we like to hope, will go ahead without a hitch, without left games, I don't mind getting rid of a bye week. It means my team's playing every week of the season, so I'm not too fussed. But overall, the schedule got released last night.
I'll just move slides right quickly. So as you can see, we've got the division preview week 3 coming up in a minute, but it's the NFC East. But as you can see, firstly we'll talk about the schedule. It got released last night, like Kieran said. This is the week 1 matchups. It's pretty big games on week 1, really. What are you looking forward to the most at week 1?
We talked about this before we started. It's Saints v Buccaneers. There is no more intriguing matchup on week 1 apart from the Saints v the Bucs. I'm sorry, it's the outright winner, because Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. I can't wait.
And seeing Tom Brady in a uniform that's not the New England Patriots uniform for the first time in 20 years, it's going to be very interesting. Because he's got an array of offensive weapons. The Saints have got an array of offensive weapons. It's going to be a really good game. And when the schedule got released tonight, I was thinking, why can't the season just start tomorrow? Why are they teasing us with releasing us all these games 4 months before the season? I just want to see it start now. I just can't wait for it. Because go on.
I'm saying, do you think there's a sleeper matchup? Because obviously let's be fair, we all want the season to start, because I've got to admit, as much as I love my Vikings, I want to see Brees v Brady. I do. Is there a sleeper matchup that people won't really be eyeing up, but could, be one of the most interesting games of week 1?
I think Chargers Bengals, especially if Justin Herbert starts for the Chargers, because he could have, a Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow matchup week 1. I mean, it was very similar to the Titans Buccaneers game in 2015. It was Winston and Mariota that were the top 2 picks in the draft, and they played against each other week 1. And Jameis, this is no word of a lie, first play of the game for the Bucs, Jameis threw a pick 6 to his first NFL pass. That's true,
I'm
by
not.
the way.
I
No,
know
it's
it's
true.
true. It's true, but I'm not having slander already.
Anyway, we'll move on from Jameis because he signed that new contract. But
why are we talking about Brady v Breeze? It's going to be Brady v Jameis on week 1. That's what it's going to be. That's the matchup we all want to see.
Jameis gets revenge against his old Buccaneers team.
Exactly. That's what I want to see. I don't care. But I think my sleeper, it might be that Titans v Broncos game, because in the offseason, the Broncos went full offense, but they went with wide receivers and the tight ends as well. Whereas the Titans are very much a running team. That's what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. And it might be nice to see them offensive weapons at wide receiver take on the running back beast of Derrick Henry. But it took him a while to get to speed last year. I'm interested to see if it takes him that long to get to speed this year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he carries his form over from the postseason to the regular season, because if he can, I mean, the Titans stand in good stead if Derrick Henry can run the ball like that every single week. But yeah, I agree that the Broncos are just an intriguing team for me this going into this next season, because obviously you've got Drew Lock in his second year, and you've added a ton of offensive weapons around him. I'm interested to see how he progresses as a player. And maybe, we said on the live stream for the draft, teams in the same division as the Chiefs, they're looking to get points on the board. They're looking to score points against them, because you can only defend Patrick Mahomes for so long. As a defense, you can only contain him for so long. Eventually, you're going to score some points and match up to him. And I think that's what the Broncos wanted to do. They drafted a wide receiver in the first and second round. But yeah, I do agree that that'll be a very interesting game on Monday night. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the Cowboys-Rams game, because obviously I'm a Cowboys fan. Their first game in SoFi Stadium, which I think is interesting, because hopefully we go spoil the party.
I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, Jacksonville went and spoiled the Raiders' last game in the Black Hole, so you never know. But we spoke on the Broncos outscoring the Chiefs. We'll talk about the inaugural game of the 2020 season. A team that did a very good off-season in the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions, facing the team that most definitely lost every aspect of the off-season in the Texans. Is there any way they spoil the Super Bowl homecoming of the Chiefs?
I mean, I can't see it personally. I mean, it says Sunday Night Football on the graphic there, but that's a mistake by the people who made this image. It's actually Thursday Night Football. Thursday night. So the fact that it's Thursday Night Football, it's going to be the only game on that night, and the whole world will be watching, the Texans and Bill O'Brien, who've blown their team up this offseason, get embarrassed by Patrick Mahomes. But if there's one person to stop that, it's Deshaun Watson. And this is a big season for Deshaun Watson. Does he want to re-sign with the Texans? Because you take Deshaun Watson out of that team, that is not a very good team. This guy keeps them relevant. He keeps them competing. Can he go against all the odds and beat Patrick Mahomes in his home stadium? Can he spoil the Super Bowl homecoming with, he lost his best weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. They got David Johnson back. They've added some new weapons themselves. They've added Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb. We'll see how they mesh together. But I think that is a very interesting game. I think a lot of offense in that game, very similar to the playoff game that we watched. But we'll have to wait and see. But that is a very nice encounter to open the season with, I think.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of good games to pick from there. I mean, we've not even spoke on Cardinals 49ers. To see Kyler Murray back in his second year, I'm hoping that man blows up this season. He was brilliant. He may very be one of them once-in-a-lifetime talents, because I'm just obviously in the first season we saw glimpses, but I want to see it more consistently this year. And obviously 49ers runners-up in the Super Bowl, that's another game that I'm looking at thinking, what a brilliant game. There is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick any game there, and it's like, well, you want to see how the team has progressed from the season before. You want to see how their off-season impacted them. I think with the 49ers, that team is still loaded, and they've just made the Super Bowl. But it'd be interesting to see if they'd have that Super Bowl hangover, where because teams like the Rams last season, they made it to the Super Bowl. They came into last season with high expectations, and they really struggled. They'd missed the playoffs, and they just weren't the same team. But I do agree. See if Kyler Murray can take that second season step, very much like Lamar Jackson did and win MVP. It's definitely not beyond him, because you can see Kyler Murray's got extreme talent, and you have DeAndre Hopkins, that wide receiving group, along with Larry Fitzgerald, and you saw Christian Kirk. So yeah, Kyler Murray, and I like Kyler Murray as a player. And him with coaches and quarterbacks is a very vital part of this league. If you coach and your quarterback can work well together, you're probably going to win games. And I think Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, we've mentioned it before, they are the perfect match.
I'm really glad you've mentioned that, because I have one game left to mention. and it's the Green Bay Packers versus Vikings. Not because I support the Vikings, but Mr. Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur will take to the field for the first time. Obviously, we'll be in US Bank Stadium for this one.
Yeah.
But what do you think that we're going to... Because if there is no fans, let's say there is no fans, the camera will be focusing. I want to see every single aspect of Aaron Rodgers' fit. Every drop ball from a wide receiver that's not good enough to be playing and winning the division. He's throwing it to bloody AJ Dillon, who can't catch the football.
He can't catch.
He can't catch. I really want to see it, not just from a Vikings perspective, but the moment things start going wrong for the Green Bay Packers this season, that will be so interesting to watch, because they're a team that this offseason did not get better, arguably got worse because they didn't improve and everyone else around them got a little bit better. They're still arguably the favourites in the division, but I want to see how Aaron Rodgers... Because, if things start going wrong, you can just go, play Jordan Love, you picked him in the first round, you traded up for him. I don't want to play. So I'm so excited to see Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And that's the Vikings fan.
I'm interested to see, does Aaron Rodgers go out this season and just, go out with an absolute vengeance and tear it up, because he's got the quality to do so. Just does he have the supporting cast, to help him carry over the big games? And another big thing about the Packers is, winning that division is great, but the season afterwards, you've got a first place schedule. They're playing whatever division they will face in the upcoming season. They'll be facing the team that won the division that previous season. So they've got a first place schedule. The Vikings have finished second in the division, still made the playoffs. They've got a second place schedule, like the Cowboys. The Eagles have got a first place schedule. We've now got a second place schedule, so we've got arguably easier games. And like you say, with the Packers not improving that much this offseason, can they rebound? Because I think we can both agree they looked into some wins last year. They weren't a 13-3 team.
No, I didn't think they were a good team last year, and that's coming, as I say, from a fan of a team who finished below them. But I did not think they were a good team last year. Aaron Rodgers carried that team to a 13-3 season. I'm just looking through the Packers' schedule. They've got the Saints, I think, in week 3. They've got the Bucks in week 6, which will be a very interesting game. Texans in week 7, but the Texans aren't the same division winners as last year. That's an interesting point, actually. Division winners in firms like Texans as well, they got worse. So the Titans will fancy that division.
Yeah, and the Colts as well. I think the Colts are much improved. Yeah. I think with Phillip Rivers going into this season, I think Phillip Rivers last season he struggled a lot with the Chargers, but their offensive line is arguably one of the worst in the league. You put them behind the Colts offensive line, which is arguably the best in the league. Yeah. And we saw Phillip Rivers the season before last season. He was an MVP candidate, and he threw for over 30 touchdowns and got the Chargers into the playoffs. I think it was with a 12-4 record, 11-5 record. So he had a really good season. So I'm really interested to see how Phillip Rivers does behind that offensive line. See if he can, if he's getting the protection, he can make the throws. And it might only be a 1-year contract because obviously they drafted Jacob Eason. He can teach Jacob Eason a few things. But yeah, I think that division is definitely very intriguing because I don't think the Texans are going to be the team that sits at the top of the division. I could see them definitely falling behind the Titans or the Colts.
I think one thing that falls in Green Bay's favour, I think the division winners they're facing are the Eagles and the Texans, which isn't too bad. They've got the 49ers in week 9, which is difficult. But, if you had your choice of division winners, they've got, not easy games, but, compared to if you were facing the Chiefs and etc.
Yeah, I'll just mention one more thing on Green Bay. I think what will be interesting to see with them is just how the morale of the squad is like, because you could tell. I think the Packers are just trying to go their own direction. Matt LaFleur wants to run the ball, and he wants Jordan Love as his future quarterback. And I think Aaron Rodgers maximum is there for another 2 more seasons. But we'll have to see how he responds.
This makes no sense because they paid him. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? Like a 4-year extension. If they get rid of him, the dead money that they will inherit is crippling, legitimately crippling.
I think after year 3 you can get rid of him without any dead money, but year 3, I mean that's 3 years from now. Can you see Aaron Rodgers being on the team for 3 more years after what they did in the draft and didn't supply with any weapons? It is definitely interesting. And
then you won't be long off paying Jordan Love, who will only have a year left. And then obviously a 5th-year option.
That's what really, really I did not understand with this draft, because Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have him around for a few more years yet. And by the time, Jordan Love comes to play, you're only going to have maybe 1 or 2 years on that rookie deal before you've got to pay him anyway. You're not going to see, is he good enough to pay? You're only going to have that 1 or 2 year sample on the rookie contract when teams usually win championships with a quarterback on a rookie deal, very much like the Chiefs have done. They've gone all in, while Patrick Mahomes still on a small contract and won a championship. The Packers. I just don't know what this season holds for them. I think they're coming into the season probably the most intriguing team to watch because I just want to see how Aaron Rodgers rebounds with all the negative press that's going on around the Packers.
I put him behind the Buccaneers because of all the assets they added, and they did add arguably the greatest of all time. So I think they're the most interesting. But I've got to admit, Green Bay did a lot of wrong in the off season. But when the season starts, if they make it all right again, I don't think people will be bothered, especially not Packers fans if they run away with the division.
Yeah, if a team's winning, the fans are happy no matter what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, we'll move on from the schedule because we've had a nice chat about that, and hopefully the season starts on time. We'll move on to the next. Well, this is week 3 of the division previews, and I've got the NFC East. So we'll move on to the first team in this division, and it's the Dallas Cowboys, my team. I'll just have a quick read through of what they did this offseason. They finished last season with an 8-8 record. They started 3-0, finished the season with a whimper, and they missed the playoffs yet again under Jason Garrett. I'm starting to think Jason Garrett's middle name is 8-8. His mum named him good old 8-8 Jason.
Good name. I like it. Good name.
But he's gone now. We've got Mike McCarthy, which I didn't write down here because I've tried to focus his PowerPoints mostly on player personnel and how the teams have changed. But the Cowboys, they got a new head coach in Mike McCarthy, and they've got a lot of new staff at all the different position categories. Like I think they've got a new running back coach, new wide receiver head coach, new DB coach, new defensive line coach. So they have overhauled the coach, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with them next season. See if they're a better coach team. You would hope so. Yeah. Second point, though, the Cowboys placed the franchise tag on quarterback Dak Prescott. Now, this is like I mentioned on the live stream, this is the one thing Jerry Jones, has had a good offseason. The one last job you need to do is just pay franchise quarterback Dak Prescott. However, I'd not wrote this down on the page. They signed Andy Dalton last week, which is an interesting one to come in as mostly a backup. But you know what the press is like. They're trying to overhype it. Oh, is Andy Dalton going to be the new starter? No, that's still going to be the starter. He's still going to be the starter. Stephen Jones has brought up Dak's our guy, but you've got to eventually get to a contract with him. You've got to pay him that contract. Yeah. Otherwise, Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton could be starting in SoFi Stadium week 1 if you don't get this sorted soon. So I can't see Dak playing on that franchise tag. We re-signed star wide receiver Amari Cooper to a 5-year, $100 million contract. And then other free agent deals that we signed former Buccaneers defensive tackle Gerald McCoy to a 3-year, $18 million deal. We signed former Panthers DT Dontari Poe to a 2-year, $8.5 million deal. And then we signed former Bears safety Clinton Dix to a 1-year, $4 million deal. So getting some defensive players in there, improving the defensive line, because we got run on a lot last year. But I think with those 2 new DTs, we might, our run defense might be much improved. We also signed and re-signed another 11 players, which, I didn't want to write them all down, but some of those players, we extended Blake Jow and we signed Andy Dalton. We signed a new kicker. Actually, we signed 2 kickers, so there'll be a bit of a kicking competition in the off-season. Notable loss, however, there were a few. Baron Jones, our top corner, left. Robert Quinn, who had the most sacks on our team last year, left. And Travis Frederick, all-pro centre, retired. So 3 big pieces off the defence there. Baron Jones, I liked him as a cover corner. Baron Jones is still a very good coverage corner, but for a guy that doesn't play the ball and get interceptions, I'm just not willing to pay him $17 million a year. So good luck to him in Miami. Same with Robert Quinn. I felt like he got overpaid a bit. But in the draft, I've just put our first round pick down. We drafted CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver at Oklahoma, with the 17th overall pick, pretty much replacing Randall Cobb in that slot position. And we also got Diggs at cornerback in the second round, Neville Gallimore, defensive tackle in the third round. Then we got some other players, which I won't mention because, I don't want to spend too long on the Cowboys. But yeah, what did you think overall of the Cowboys offseason?
Apart from the dark cloud that is Dak Prescott, not that it's anything to do with him. I understand that he wants to get paid, and the 2 teams, from what I know, are a little bit off on. For example, Dak wants a lot more than what the Cowboys are offering. I think that's one blip on a very, very good offseason. Obviously, you lose Byron Jones, but you replace him with Trevon Diggs. You also got Reggie Robinson in the 4th round. I think where you really made your mark was the draft. I've got to admit, I think your off-season signings, McCoy and poor. They were all right because your defense was poor last year. I think your offense, obviously, you were the number one offense in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Statistically, we were, yeah.
Yeah, statistically. So your defense was where you needed help, but when CD Lamb fell to you at number 17, you had to pick him. It wasn't obviously you would have liked to maybe bolster the defense a little bit more in the draft. You got Bradley and I, the defensive end, and you got obviously Neville Gallimore, the defensive lineman. If Lamb would have gone, I think I would have liked to bolster that because you've already got Amari Cooper, you've got Michael Gallup, who I think had a really good season for his rookie year. Is it his rookie year? It was, wasn't it?
Second year.
Second year, sorry. His second year in the NFL. But overall, I think you as a team you got better, and now I think you're one of the most improved teams in the offseason, I would say.
Yeah, but I probably agree. Like, I mean, taking out, I think Travis Frederick's probably our biggest loss based on what he brings to offense, because Travis Frederick's one of the best centers in the league, and he's just gone like that. We drafted Tyler Biadasz in the draft as well, who fell because of an injury issue, but I don't think he'll start week one. We've still got Joe Looney, who replaced Frederick when he had that syndrome a few years ago. Played all 16 games and played a really good season, so I think he'll be starting week one. But Biadasz can come in as that developmental center and maybe be a starter down the road. But Baron Jones, yeah, like I mentioned, it's a big loss in terms of what he brings in the coverage and how he can lock down receivers. But we need more playmakers on this defense, in my opinion. Clinton Dix he's renowned for making interceptions. His tackling can be a bit off, sometimes. But what he brings as a ball hawk, I really like that signing on a 1-year cheap deal. The Joe McCoy signing was my favorite, in my opinion, just because he's that 3-technique, big defensive tackle that can rush the passer. Whereas Dontari Poe's more of that one tech who's more going to stuff the run. He's the big body. If he gets a sack here and there, nice, but he's mostly there to stop the run. So I liked our 2 defensive tackle signings. But overall, yeah, I actually like the offseason because it looked like it was going to be an offseason where the Cowboys, we signed a few players here and there, a few cheap deals in the second wave of free agency. We let our big players walk. We have an average draft. But I think the draft, like you said, the draft was our main part of the offseason. We really knocked it out of the park, in my opinion, which we haven't seen from the Cowboys in the last couple of years now. We had a couple of good couple of drafts with the Dak Prescott draft and the Zeke Elliott draft, but they were in the same draft class. But the last 2 years have been a bit iffy, but I think this one was definitely very good. And getting CD Lamb on that rookie contract is going to be with us for at least 5 years. Put him in that slot. It's just another weapon for Dak Prescott if he signs. He just get Dak Prescott under contract, get this dark cloud out of the way, like you mentioned, and let him work with the new head coach Matt McCarthy.
And if he doesn't re-sign, you've got Andy Dalton, but not only Andy Dalton, you've got Ben DiNucci, who you drafted in the 7th round out of James Madison. What a 7th round pick that was. I've heard rumours he was a first rounder. I'm just saying, I don't know where it came from. But anyway, on all serious notes, I think you got this. One thing I will say about the NFC East is it should have been yours to win last year. Let's be honest. It wasn't a good division last year at all.
Terrible.
I hope you don't mind me saying that because I know you're in it. But honestly, last year it was a poor division.
Yeah, go on.
I was saying to you how teams like the Rams, who were not great, but they're going to miss out, and the Eagles make it in because of the way the divisions work. But I think you've got better, and I think you will win the division this year. But the other teams in your division did get better.
Oh yeah, I think everyone in the NFC got better. It's just that I think when you look at this division, it's most likely the Cowboys and the Eagles. Where you look at the other two, the Giants and Redskins, they got better. They got better for their standards. What I mean? They're more of a rebuilding team. They're not looking to compete straight away. But yeah, I think hopefully we do finish at the top of the NFC. We'll get to our rankings a bit later on after we've gone through all the teams. But yeah, hopefully we do with that easier schedule. And actually, this is a fact. No one has repeated in the NFC East since 2003-04 season. So every single year since then, it's been a different team winning it each year.
So it's up for grabs.
So, yeah, exactly, it's up for grabs. And I think the team we'll mention next, the Eagles, it's between those two really. I think whoever wins those head-to-head matchups, it's gonna end up winning the division. But yeah, overall, I was happy with the Cowboys offseason. It's been a more exciting offseason than it has usually because apparently this was the most money we spent on guarantees in like 3 seasons on out of free agents. So we've actually gone for it this year. We've actually signed better players, instead of just waiting for those, basement, bargain players in the second wave of free agency. But yeah, overall, I liked what we did, and hopefully we can win the division with the new head coach, because that was just getting Jason Garrett out and just getting someone new in. I think it just went stale, to be honest. I think the players just needed a new message from a different person.
Yeah, you don't want your team stagnating. If the thing is, if you're staying the same in the NFL, you're getting worse. That's pretty much as it goes. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse, because it's such an ever-changing league that you have to get better each year or you get left behind. That's pretty much how it works. So last year you were poor, but this year I think you'll get a lot better.
I hope so indeed. We'll move on to the next team, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. As you can see, they finished last season with a 9-7 record, and they made the wildcard round. Obviously, they won the division, but they lost straight away to the Seahawks after Carson Wentz got injured after throwing only 3 passes and was replaced by 39-year-old Josh McCown. I think he's 40 years old. But yeah, their big offseason move was acquiring Darius Slay from the Detroit Lions. They only traded away a 3rd and a 5th round pick for him, but they also gave him a 3-year, $50 million extension, which I think it makes him the second highest or the first highest.
Behind Byron Jones?
I think it's either him or Byron that are the top paid corner in the league now.
Byron's top.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look at that. He's definitely up there. They're giving the money they wanted, and they needed corners because this team was getting burnt in the secondary. They just couldn't stay healthy in the secondary. You get the number 1 corner in, 3rd and a 5th round pick, not too much. You have plenty of compensatory picks anyway, so you're not giving up too much there to get a corner like Darius Slay, who, let's fair to say, we mentioned in our previous division previews, the bridges with him and Detroit had been burnt quite a while ago.
Easily.
In the offseason, they signed a former Steelers nose tackle, Javon Hargrave, to a 3-year, $39 million deal to bolster their defensive line along with Fletcher Cox. And they also signed former Rams another cornerback, Nickel Roby-Coleman, for 1 year, $1.5 million. I really like this deal by the Eagles, Nickel Roby-Coleman. I think he's one of the better slot corners in the league. And for $1.5 million, I mean, why not? It's barely anything.
I'm sat here thinking it's no risk. I don't think that's no risk, and he'll probably do a very good job.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he doesn't, but it's a decent signing by the Eagles. They also signed and re-signed another 5 players, like I mentioned with the Cowboys. I'm not going to name all these smaller deals, but they did sign another safety called Will Parks from the Broncos, and they re-signed a couple of their Jalen Mills. I think they've re-signed him and put him to safety. He used to be a cornerback. Notable losses for them include Malcolm Jenkins at safety, Jason Peters, their left tackle, and Ronald Darby at cornerback, who had been a bit injury riddled, but he was still the best cornerback on their roster before they traded for Darius Slay. And their first round pick was Jalen Reagor, wide receiver out of TCU, who they picked 21 overall. They also picked Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round, picked a linebacker in the 3rd round, and then later on in the draft, they just got some speed at wide receiver, which was an area of need for them. So what do you think of the Eagles offseason so far, Kieran?
I actually think it was all right. I understand, like, taking Jalen Reagor at 21 was questionable because of who was left on the board, in terms of you could have had Justin Jefferson, who is arguably a better receiver with a higher ceiling. But it wasn't a bad pick. It wasn't a terrible pick. He probably would have fell, he would have fell in that top 7 receivers. Yeah. You'd say top 5. Yeah, probably. It was so close in wide receiver that the top 10's kind of, it was the top 3. I think Jefferson just a little bit outside, and then the rest were really close in terms of who you could have picked out of them.
Yeah, I agree.
The pick of Jalen Hurts, it was one of them. We talked about like the Packers and do they want to get better now? I think with Jalen Hurts, people are thinking it's just if Carson Wentz gets injured, which is how I originally viewed it. But I've heard that they want to use him as a Taysom Hill type of player on offense. So they can use him. They can have basically him and Wentz as the ball snapped. Keeps defenses thinking.
Yeah.
Which did it need?
It's interesting, but would you spend a 2nd round pick on it? That's the thing, because Taysom Hill's undrafted.
Well, I mean, Packers spent a 1st on a backup, so anything's possible. But yeah, the question is, would it have been a 2nd round pick? Could you have maybe got a top corner? I don't know if Jalen Johnson was still on the board. I can't remember.
I think he'd just gone off the board, but Christian Fulton was still there. He was ranked 3rd best cornerback by many people.
Exactly, and obviously they could have even got a safety. I know they got one in the 4th round in Kayvon Wallace, but
yeah,
sure. I can't remember if Grant Delpit was still on the board at this point either. I can't really remember.
I think he was gone, Grant Delpit, but I get where you're going. I think there was bigger needs on the roster, bigger issues they could have filled. Because there was, like we mentioned this in the draft last year, the second round and third round was still, there's still an abundance of very, very good players that had fallen out of the first round. I mean, they could have even took another receiver. They could have doubled up at receiver and got Denzel Mims, you know what I mean? Along with Jalen Reagor. But I don't mind the Jalen Reagor pick. I think with Jalen Reagor, I think he played for TCU. They didn't have an amazing quarterback. His numbers aren't going to be very good. But put him with Carson Wentz, who's seen as a good cornerback, he's got a lot of speed, Jalen Reagor. And when you've got a lot of speed, you're a very useful player. I mean, obviously, the Darius Slayer move is their biggest move of the offseason, definitely.
It was a good move. It was a good move. I mean, as you say, he's now the second paid corner. And is he better than Byron Jones or at the level of Byron Jones? I'd say so. I think he is. So he's the second highest paid corner, but you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Just don't burn bridges with him and don't treat him like I'm not going to swear. Don't treat him badly. There you go. But overall, with the Eagles, they got slightly better. A lot of it depends on Carson Wentz and if he can stay healthy, which obviously you made the joke, Glenn. Look at the quarterback depth chart. Wentz hurts. Ha, ha, ha. Because he does all the time. But it will be a toss-up between you and the Eagles, and I think it will run close this year if Wentz stays healthy. Because when Wentz stays healthy, the Eagles were a good team last year. They were okay. They were worthy division winners, and I think the game against Seattle would have been closer had Wentz been on the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, because when you got Josh McCown and someone like he's in his 40s and he's seen as one of those players who bounces around teams as a good backup, but you don't want him playing against Seahawks in the playoffs. You don't want him being that player. I think losing Jason Peters at left tackle then was pretty big. I know he's very old. I think he's another guy who's like 38, 39. Blindside protector's gone. They're going to have to start a rookie there, Andre Dillard, I think. And Malcolm Jenkins was a leader in that defense at safety. Went to the Saints. So that was a nice pickup for the Saints. But the one thing I think the Eagles have got the advantage over every team in the division is they're the only team that didn't change coach out of all the teams in this division. So, especially with what's going on in the offseason, there's no the offseason work has been delayed. All these other teams are looking to get the team ready with the new coaches. The Eagles are the only team with continuity and recognizable head coach there, where the players we know Doug Peterson, we've won a Super Bowl with him, we know what he is, whereas the other teams are still kind of figuring out what's the new game plan, what's the new playbook, the new coach, because the new coach is going to bring his own staff and he's going to bring his own ideas, whereas the Eagles have stayed pretty similar really with their head coach Doug Peterson. So I think that's especially what's going on with the coronavirus. I think that's definitely where the Eagles have got the upper hand in this division.
Yeah, that I didn't even think about. The only people who need to be introduced is the rookies to to how they're going to play, whereas everyone else have got to introduce themselves to Mike McCarthy. Then the rookies have got to come in. Yeah, do you know what? I didn't think about that, but very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next team, who also changed coach. But before we do that, we'll move on to the Athletic. Do you want to talk through the Athletic, Kieran?
I can indeed. Join the Athletic today with the link in the description down below, which you can click. It's theathletic.co.uk/the Sports Corner. I mean, there'll be lots of news pieces on there now as the schedule's just been released. And with the link, you get a 7-day free trial and you get 50% off the annual subscription, which is an absolute bargain. And always, as it's not on the slide, but I'll keep reiterating, no ads. No ads. That's what you need. And if you want to learn about your team or just news in general in the NFL, The Athletic is the best place to go because it's respectable journalists. And that's it, really. It's a brilliant website.
Yeah, The Athletic it's definitely that premier place where you want to read your sports news, and as Kieran mentioned, you get 50% off is a lot. And just all you've got to do is click that link on the screen that you see right there, theathletic.co.uk/the Sports Corner. You get your 7-day free trial and a 50% off. So join The Athletic today. Move on to the next team, Washington Redskins. Finished last season with a 3-13 record, worst in the NFC. So yeah, that's that. They have the second overall pick in the draft. We'll get on to that in a bit. They placed the franchise tag on offensive lineman Brandon Scherf. Now, this is interesting for me because I think it was only them and the Patriots that placed a tag on an offensive lineman. I mean, they obviously couldn't come to a contract agreement with him, but they wanted to keep him around. So fair play, they get him on that 1-year franchise tag. In the offseason, well, in free agency, they signed a few players. Their main acquisition was Kendall Fuller, the cornerback they signed from the Chiefs on a 4-year, $40 million contract. And this is what I found fascinating about this was they actually traded him away the Chiefs in 2018 for quarterback Alex Smith, but they've now re-signed him anyway. So they got him. They traded him for Alex Smith, and now he's back on the Redskins. So maybe it's where he wanted to be all along. So they get him back at cornerback on a nice deal. I think $10 million for a player who he got an interception in the Super Bowl. He played a really good game. So I think that's a nice acquisition by the Skins. They also signed former Eagles cornerback Ronald Darby, who I mentioned previously. They signed him to a 1-year, $3 million deal. He's had injury issues, but when he is healthy, he's still a serviceable cornerback. And they also signed former Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. And I think this has just got Ron Rivera written all over it. Obviously, their new head coach, Ron Rivera, previously of the Packers. And Thomas Davis was also previously of the Packers. I think he was on the Chargers last season, but he played for the Panthers his whole career before that. So Ron Rivera, reunites with an old friend there. They signed and re-signed another 7 players. But notable losses include Jordan Reed, Quinton Dunbar, who they traded away to the Seahawks, the cornerback, for I think they got like a 2nd-round pick or 3rd-round pick for him, maybe. In fact, I think it was a 4th actually. So I don't think they got much for him. I think he was only on a 1-year contract, but he's now gone. And Josh Norman also went to the Bills on a 1-year, $8 million contract. But in the draft, they took Chase Young, defensive end out of Ohio State. Many people saw as the best overall player in the draft. They got him 2nd overall behind Joe Burrow, who was obviously the 1st pick. So what do you think of the Redskins offseason, Kieran?
Did they lose Trent Williams?
They did actually. I don't know. I've not put it on there, but they traded him away for a 3 and a 5. So they got a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, I think, for him.
I mean, they improved in the secondary, obviously. With the acquisitions of Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby. So a lot of defense-driven picks for the Washington Redskins. I mean, you got the best player in the draft. You got Chase Young. He is the best player in the draft, bar none. Yeah. He really was. But they didn't have a 2nd-round pick in the draft, so they couldn't really bolster as much as I think. I don't think they'll slightly improve, but I don't think they're going to make a humongous run this year. They got Antonio Gibson, the running back, in round 3. They took an offensive tackle, but they also took a wide receiver in Antonio Gandy Golden, which, alongside having the best name one of the best names in the draft, yeah, he's an okay wide receiver as well. I think the Redskins, they did get better, but I don't think they did enough in terms of they got the best player in the draft, but I still think they've got a long way to go, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously with that new coach coming in, it's going to be hard with what's going on at the moment. Obviously, I mentioned previously with the coronavirus, it's going to be hard to implement his schemes and his game plans straight away. But I think when you look at the Skins, it's kind of like they've got a very good. Their front 7 is in my opinion, it's one of the best in the league. But you look at the other parts of the roster, and it's arguably worse in the league. The wide receivers, they've got Terry McLaurin, who's a breakout star for them last season, who they drafted from Ohio State in the 3rd round. Other than that, it's kind of like, what have you got wide receiver? I know they took Antonio Gibson, but he's more of like a running back wide receiver hybrid. Their offensive line, like I said, they lost Trent Williams, which I forgot to put on here. So actually starting left tackle gone, even though he didn't play last season, he's sat out because he wanted a new contract. But their front 7, they've got Chase Young, they've still got Matt Ioannidis, they've still got Jonathan Allen, who I believe are all 1st-round picks. They've also got Deron Payne, who was also a 1st-round pick. So that defensive line's still very good. You had Thomas Davis at line.
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, I was gonna move on to Montez Sweat and Ryan Kerrigan, the 2 pass rushing linebackers, and you put Thomas Davis in the middle linebacker spot with the other middle linebacker from Alabama, which his name escapes me at the moment, but they've got him as well. So the front 7, I think, for the Redskins is very good, and they've still got Landon Collins at safety, and they've added the 2 new cornerbacks. Their defense looks good, but it's kind of like I don't think the roster's balanced enough in every area to compete.
I think they're a year away. I think next year, bolster the offense, and the Redskins can be a very well-balanced team going forward. I mean, this might be one of the hardest defenses you'll come up against this year. I mean, you look at the front 7, obviously how much they've improved in the secondary as well. That'll be very difficult, but I mean, there's still a bit of uncertainty at quarterback with Dwayne Haskins, whether they want him to be the guy to drive them forward. Maybe they look at they approach that. Maybe they go for Cam Newton. I don't know. I don't think they will, but I think the Redskins are a year away, but their defense is unbelievable.
Yeah, their defense is stacked, and they've always prided themselves on defense. And Ron Rivera is a defensive coach. When you've got the front, when you've got the defensive line players they have, and you've got Sweat and Kerrigan blitzing from the linebacker spots, they've run more of a 3-4. So that their defensive line, I mean, you talk about Chase Young, Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, or Deron Payne. You put them in the middle. They are 3 big guys that are going to affect the quarterback. then you've got your 2 linebackers blitz on the outside as well. That's going to cause some problems. But it's just, can the offense score points to complement the defense? Is it too one-sided of a roster, which I think it probably is.
I was going to say,
I think that the higher... Go on.
Once they go behind, it'll be difficult for that. They'll pride themselves on taking the lead early and being able to keep other teams out. Whereas if they go behind in games, I don't trust that offense to drag them back into it.
No, neither. I mean, I know they've got the running back, Darius Geis, who they drafted from LSU a few years ago. So he's maybe a bit of a bright spot on their offense. I think they've still got Adrian Peterson as well. I mean, he's still playing like a pretty good running back for the age that he is. But I do agree with the Haskins. It's interesting to see how they're doing in year 2, because I think he needs to definitely take a step forward if this team's going to be relevant, which I think we can both agree on. We don't think it will be a team that's competing for the playoffs this season. It's still going through that rebuilding stage with Ron Rivera. But I think the Ron Rivera hire is definitely a positive for them, because, like, similar to the Cowboys, they were getting a bit stale with G. Gruden and they needed some new ideas. And now they've got Ron Rivera, and who's made it to a Super Bowl before Ron Rivera, and he's always known to have good, defenses wherever he's coached. So I think that's positive for them. But did they compete this season? No. Do they have the worst record in the NFC? Maybe not.
I don't know, because they've got better, but they haven't got better to a point. It's hard, because when you look at all these teams, all of them have got better, and I don't kind of want to label one of them to the bottom of the division. I mean, even looking at the Giants, they've got better. And I don't want to put one of them at the bottom, but I will end up at the end anyway. But as you say, I think they're a year away from challenging in this division.
Yeah, and I mean, even a year away from even just trying to challenge for the division, there might be a few years away from even winning playoff games. Might be a while for them before they even do that. But yeah, that's the Redskins. They got the best player in the draft. They've got a new coach. They've overhauled the defense, and maybe that offense needs a bit more work. But maybe they win more than 3 games next season in the NFC. Let's move on to the final team now, the New York Giants. They finished last season with a 4-12 record, which is the 3rd worst in the NFC. So 2 of the worst teams in the NFC were in the same division. They placed a franchise tag on their defensive tackle / defensive end Leonard Williams, who they traded for mid-season from the New York Jets. They signed former Panthers cornerback James Bradbury to a 3-year, $45 million contract. He was their big off-season acquisition in terms of free agency. And they also signed 2 former Packers linebackers. They signed Blake Martinez to a 3-year, $30 million contract, seen as more of that tackling machine in the middle of the defense, because I know he's always up there in like total tackles in the NFL. He's always in the top 5. So that's a bit another loss there for the Packers, but it's the New York Giants gain. And then they also signed Kyler Fackrell to a 1-year, $5 million deal. Who's more of a pass rushing linebacker? I think he had about 7 sacks last season, maybe 6. So bringing some pass rush there to the Giants defense, which is much needed. And they also re-signed and signed another 7 players, like I mentioned, for every team. They've signed other players at smaller contracts, but we're not going to put them all down. The notable losses include, however, Eli Manning, who retired. Is he a notable loss? He's more of a notable name because he's been there for so long. But I think this is definitely Daniel Jones' team. So he's gone now, Eli Manning. So Daniel Jones doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He's the starting guy. They lost Mike Remmers to the Chiefs, the offensive lineman. He probably wasn't a starting caliber offensive lineman, but he's still, a good backup. And, the Chiefs have depth there. So the Giants lose him. And they also released Alec Ogletree, the linebacker. He's still a decent linebacker, but I don't think they wanted him on the cap hit that he was on. So he's gone. And then in the draft with the 4th overall pick, they took Andrew Thomas, offensive lineman from Georgia, predominantly a left tackle. He's probably seen as the best out-and-out left tackle in the draft, but we did not see that coming. It's fair to say, Kieran, with the 4th overall pick.
No, because I thought Jedrick Wills was more ready to start straight away. I think Jedrick Wills, if you wanted a tackle to start straight away, which is what the Giants needed, I think he was the guy. But if they wanted an out-and-out left tackle, Andrew Thomas was their pick, and I do think he can start straight away. Whereas I think with Mekhi Becton, he's got a higher ceiling. I think more
of a project, though, isn't he, really, Mekhi Becton?
Yeah, with his freakish athleticism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when you're looking at other tackles took in the first round, he's Andrew Thomas is miles better than Isaiah Wilson and Austin Jackson, in my opinion. But I love the second round pick in safety Xavier McKinney. I think that's a brilliant. He was a first round possible talent, and they did get him early in the second round, and I think he will help them a ton in the secondary.
Yeah, and you pair him with Jabril Peppers, who they acquired in the Odell Beckham trade. You've got a nice safety tandem there, and we mentioned on the draft podcast, Xavier McKinney coming from Alabama. He doesn't look like he's going to be a bust. Maybe other safeties had higher ceiling than him, but he's going to come in. He's going to be a solid player, and he can play a bit of corner as well. He's a very versatile player on that back end, so it's a big game there for the Giants. They also added to the secondary James Bradbury, their biggest acquisition, on a $15 million contract annually. He had a very good season with the Panthers, to be fair. He had a bit of a breakout season. He might be a bit overpaid, but it was a position of need for the Giants. They needed cornerbacks because they didn't get a very good player for the rookie last season, DeAndre Baker, who they got in the first round. So bringing Bradbury in, an experienced player, I think it can only help them. And you get the 2 linebackers from the Packers. I'm sure you're happy about that because the Packers are weak at that position now.
Yeah, I think Blake Martinez is a brilliant acquisition. And I think Saquon Barkley will be coming back after spending a lot of last year injured. That'll feel brilliant for Giants. And I actually think they had a decent off-season. I think they had an all right off-season, the Giants, to be honest.
Yeah, they definitely improved. And I put the notable losses down. I've just kind of try and find the names of the players that they lost that were most notable. But even those players not like standout players, really. They didn't lose anybody big. Did they have anybody big in the first place to lose? Probably not. But the Giants are definitely a better team today than they were at this point last year. I think it's fair to say that. They kept hold of Leonard Williams, who they traded for as well. They were a bit reluctant to sign him, but he's still on the roster on that franchise tag, so that's still another defensive lineman that they've got. I think it's definitely between them or the Redskins who finishes third in the division, because we know the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles will be challenging for the division mostly, with the Giants and the Redskins finishing third or fourth. But yeah, the Giants definitely improved. And also, new head coach, Joe Judge, the former New England Patriots special teams coordinator, is now their new head coach. And they also got Jason Garrett in as their new offensive coordinator, former Dallas Cowboys head coach. So some new ideas for the Giants as well on offense. And we'll see how Daniel Jones does in his second year, because he didn't start the season, but when he came in, he definitely steadied the ship for what he had to work with anyway.
One thing I think is the New York Giants, I think when Saquon comes back, it'll be very obvious what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and run the ball, because he is generational, Saquon Barkley, as much as he is arguably, when fit, the best back in the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, Christian McCaffrey got paid. There's arguments for him, there's arguments for Derrick Henry, but this team, the Giants team, needs Saquon Barkley to function to the best of their ability. What is the best of their ability? Probably third in the division at best, but it will be staying the same. I don't know if that's where I'll put them. I have no idea what I'm going to put these teams in, but do you want to get to that section, or have you got any more comments on the Giants?
No, that's it with the Giants, really. I think, like we say, this season really is contingent if Saquon Barkley is healthy, because he really drives his offense. He's the focal point of the offense. When he's not on the field, the team's not having much to worry about, because Daniel Jones is a nice quarterback, but their offensive weapons are not very good. Since trading Odell Beckham, they've struggled. I think their best receiver last season was their fourth or third round pick. One of their later round picks, their best wide receiver. I know they've still got Evan Ingram at tight end, but he's going to want paying soon. So we'll have to see how he does this season. But yeah, Saquon coming back, it's only going to improve the Giants. And before he got injured in his rookie season, he won Rookie of the Year and had over 2,000 all-purpose yards. So, whatever team Barkley was on when he got injured, the team was going to suffer. Even though the Giants are still bad, the team was going to suffer badly when Barkley's not playing. That's obvious. But yeah, we'll move on to...
Oh, God, just one last point.
Sorry.
Offense, talk about where they obviously didn't have anyone. The only offensive people they drafted were tackles and guards. They didn't even take a punt on, because this was such a depth wide receiver class. I'm surprised they didn't maybe go for a Chase Claypool, or maybe even Jonathan Hightower, or someone like that, just late, to try and get one in, to give them a little bit more. But again, maybe it's one of them, they're a year away from being, maybe even 2 years away. I'm probably going to go with 2 years for the Giants. But
yeah, and we'll have to see how Joe Judge does it as his first head coaching job, coming from the New England Patriots, coming from that Bill Belichick tree, which, Bill Belichick, he hasn't really, created the best coaches in the world. He's not, people haven't come from Bill Belichick and been a great coach, but that might change with Joe Judge. But yeah, I don't think they had a third round pick, the Giants, though, so they couldn't. I think wide receiver would have been the pick if they had a third round pick, but they didn't. And they saw Xavier McKinney sitting there, fell out the first round. They thought, let's just get him in, pair him with Jabril Peppers, improve the defense.
They had a third round pick.
Did they? Who did they pick?
Matt Peart, offensive tackle.
Yeah, not a very good pick, because
if they had a third round pick, they wouldn't have spent it on a wide receiver. They spent it on an offensive tackle instead. There you go.
I mean, I mean, Matt Pert, I didn't like the pick at the time. I thought if you're going to take an offensive tackle, I think there were better ones out on the board anyway that you could have taken. I mean, look at Prince Tega Wanogo that they were the Philadelphia Eagles drafted in the 7th round. I mean, that was a steal.
Animal.
So fair play to the Eagles for that. But yeah, we'll move on to our final, where we think these teams are going to end up. So we'll start with you, Kieran. Where do you think this division ends up at the end of December?
Right. Dallas Cowboys finish 11-5 and win the division. The Eagles finish 9-7 and come second in the division. It's not the 1 and 2 I'm worried about. It's the 3 and 4. I think I'm going to go with the Redskins at number 3 with a 5-11 record, and the Giants at number 4 with a 5-11 record, but Washington win the head-to-head. I didn't know. I was really struggling with them two.
Well, it's kind of like we know they're not going to have a lot of wins, but it's like they're both not very good. So who goes above who?
They've both improved. They're both improved. So I do think they won't finish 4-12 and 3-13. Sorry. So I'm going to give them both a 5-11 finish. They'll get better.
And the one thing, the Giants, before I mention my predictions, because the Giants finished 3rd, the Buccaneers also finished 3rd in their division, so they get to face the Bucs.
Oh dear! Do you know what I should have done? Looked at the schedule and gone, do you know what? You go through, and I'm going. How many wins are the Giants getting here? Right, you talk through.
I'll talk through. So I'll go through my predictions. All right. So I think this season we do retain the division. We do win the division with a 10-6 record. You know, I'm not going to say 11-5 just yet. The only thing holding me back from going up to 11-5, which I think is possible, I just want to see how Mike McCarthy meshes with the whole squad, with what's going on with no training camps. We'll see how he does. But I think 10 wins, when you look at the schedule, is definitely gettable. So I'm saying the Dallas Cowboys finish 10-6, win the division. Philadelphia Eagles finish 9-7, second in the division. I'm going to put the Redskins 3rd, just because I think that defense can win them some games down the. I think Dwayne Haskins can only get better. He can't get much worse than what he was last season. I think the Redskins. I think they finished 5-11, and I'll give the Giants. I'll get 5 or 4 wins. It's one of those.
See, it's more difficult than you think.
I'll be kind. I'll give them 5 wins and say they win one more game than last season, because I think they have improved as an overall roster.
So they finished 5-11 and the same as the Redskins. See. We both have a 5-11 finish for the Giants and Redskins, and they're both finishing equal. Because we've got no idea who's going to.
You know what? I'll give the Redskins finish 3rd on that tiebreaker. How about that? I think it's Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, Giants.
There you go.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it for the division previews. Anything else you want to say?
I hate your division because it's 2-2 and it's really difficult to predict. But that's it. That's all. That's pretty much it, really. We'll leave it on that.
We'll be back next week with another division preview, which will be week 4, and it will be the NFC. What do you call it? It will be the AFC East. So with the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills. And the Patriots have lost Tom Brady. Jarrett Stidham's our new starter. Who wins that division now? Because many years it was Tom Brady's division and it was the Patriots division, but looking more open now with the Bills playoff team last year. Dolphins have got Tua. The Jets, could they improve with Sam Darnold coming back from mono? We'll have to wait and see. We'll reveal all next week. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Can you bet against the Patriots?
Can you? With Bill Belichick at the helm?
Yeah, I can. I will do next week live on the show. I will tell you. I'll tell you now. Spoilers: the Bills are winning the division.
Thanks for that. So everyone know Kieran is picking the Bills to win the division. So if he changes his mind last minute,
I was going to say next week I'll be there. The Dolphins will win it. To be honest, I think no.
I'm going with Tua. No, but we'll reveal next week. The Sports Corner channel as well. We don't just do NFL on here. We do other shows. Obviously Monday. We used to have the team week predictions, but that's kind of it's been gone for a while now. Tuesday we have.
He says. Josh says the Hull City career mode will return at some point, but we don't know when. So I'm going to stop promoting it. So on Mondays, though, what you can do, I think, is go on Twitch, because I think Josh is live from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. to play FIFA. I'm going to leave my opinions on FIFA out of this video because we're staying positive. So
Kieran's officially quit FIFA. That's what he's trying to say.
I'm done with it now. Tuesdays, we have the Wrestling Corner, which will have Money in the Bank reactions this week. Wednesday, the Granddaddy, the Top Corner, where it's the Bundesliga's back, Will.
Football is actually back. Thank God for that.
Football is back. So is UFC, to be honest. That's coming back this weekend, so that's good limbs. And on Thursday, what's this? What are you watching right now on a Friday? Actually comes out on a Thursday.
If the NFL released their schedule at the time that fit our, podcast, would have been, we'd appreciate that more, but we had to leave it a day for the schedule to release last night. But yeah, that's about it really. We will see you next week for week 4 of the division previews because we just want the season to start now, but unfortunately that's not how it works. No. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining. See you later.